The crowd buzzed with shock and confusion. Hey, what the hell is that? 10 years ago, out of nowhere, a colossal upside-down tower appeared in the sky above Tokyo. At the same time, countless dungeons materialized all across Japan. Humanity adapted quickly, and soon people began to awaken supernatural powers. Those blessed with talent and ability became mages venturing into dungeons to earn wealth and fame. A mage's strength was judged by the color of their energy. Normally, a mage would only manifest a single color, but sometimes there were rare ones who possessed dual-colored energy. My younger brother, Kurosaki Kai, was one such mage, wielding both blue and red. The demon bared its fangs in a vicious grin, glaring down at the frail human before it. Kai only smirked in contempt. He stood motionless, waiting for the beast to charge. Extending his hand, he summoned a spear of ice, his demonic spear. With a flick, it shot through the air and pierced the demon's body as though it were nothing. Its monstrous eyes, still wide in shock, had not even registered death before its form disintegrated, collapsing into a cloud of dust. When the haze cleared, a deep crimson stone lay glimmering on the ground. Kai bent down to pick it up. Not far away, Ray stood by himself, his gaze vacant. Suddenly, Kai hurled the stone hard at Ray's head and shouted, "Hey, you useless piece of trash!" The glare he shot his brother was filled with even more scorn than the one he had given the demon moments ago. "Pick it up," he barked. Kurosaki Kai, the Death King, ranked level 89, one of the strongest mages alive. Ray rubbed the spot where the stone had struck, his eyes empty of light. Unlike his younger brother, he had no power at all. He was a colorless, a rare existence in this world. Kurosaki Ray. Level 1. He gave a foolish little laugh, then obediently bent down to retrieve the stone. Still, he had not given up on becoming a mage. Kai quickly stuffed several stones into his backpack, while the rest of the party stood aside, laughing and chatting without a care. Thanks only to Kai's pity, Ray was allowed to join their group as little more than a pack mule. Even so, Ray clung desperately to his naive hope that someday, somehow, he might awaken a power of his own. He told himself this over and over, hypnotizing himself with that fragile dream. Oik raised his head, staring up at the massive door before them. "This is it, the bot's lair." Goto, looking relaxed, even joked, "Seems like this one's going to be easy." The heavy door creaked open, revealing a vast chamber. A silhouette emerged within, a figure with long, flowing platinum hair and ash-gray skin, unmistakably inhuman. Kronos, the god beyond time, a being of unimaginable rank. Flames erupted from Kai's hand, burning with the same arrogant fire in his eyes. "Pathetic," he muttered. Ice spears materialized one after another, each one wreathed in blazing fire. With a command, he hurled them at Kronos, his demon-killing technique. Kronos only lifted his hand. A black void appeared in the air, and in a blink, he drew forth a pitch-dark greatsword. With a casual swing, he deflected every spear as if they were nothing. His eyes swept over the humans with cold indifference. Kai's own widened in disbelief. What? Before he could process it, Kronos' pupils flashed with a strange light. A crushing pressure slammed into Kai, freezing him in place. A heartbeat later, his head burst apart like an overinflated balloon. His two companions had not even realized what had happened before the blood spray hit them. Ray, standing just behind his brother, could only stare in horror as the crimson fountain gushed into the air. Shock and terror gripped his body so tightly he could not move, his throat trembling with broken, useless sounds. At last, Kai's lifeless corpse collapsed to the ground. Sweat poured from Ray's body, yet his spine felt colder than ice. Impossible. The Death King killed in an instant. The moment reality sank in, the other two survivors bolted for the exit. "That thing's a monster, we will be slaughtered," but their desperate screams were cut short by the sickening sound of flesh being pierced. Kronos had ended them without even taking a step. Now Ray was the only one left alive, yet his legs shook so violently he could not even stand. He collapsed onto the cold stone floor, paralyzed with dread. Only then did Kronos finally notice him. "You." His voice trailed off, as if he had stumbled upon something amusing. A wicked grin spread across his face. He had seen through Ray's very nature the truth that he was a colorless, was not he. For some reason, the moment those words left Kronos' lips, strength began to return to Ray's trembling hand. His fingers curled tighter, as if grasping onto something deep within. A spark flickered inside his mind. His once lifeless eyes hardened with new resolve. I do not have anything. Not yet. Slowly, his hand wrapped around the sword lying on the ground. But I do not want this to be the end. Though his body still quaked, Ray forced himself into a stance, clutching the weapon as if his life depended on it. If he had to die here, then so be it. The defiance only seemed to delight Kronos more. How amusing. A colorless dares to stand against me. The creature's laughter rattled Ray's nerves, but he kept the blade pointed firmly forward. I can't give up here. Kronos conjured a swarm of black holes, nodding in approval. Excellent. Let us see what you can do. To him, Ray was no more than a new plaything. Then came the pain indescribable, overwhelming. Without lifting a finger, Kronos ripped Ray's left arm clean off. Blood surged hot from the wound, his nerves screaming, his tears streaming down his face as his cry of agony echoed through the chamber. Kronos flicked his wrist dismissively. Oops. Guess I went a little too far. A snap of his fingers and then reverse. Ray's eyes widened in shock. In an instant, the wound was gone, his arm restored. His body shook as he stared down at his hands. It was as if nothing had ever happened. Kronos leisurely conjured a flame in his palm, then flung it toward Ray. This time, I will give you some time to think. The fireball grew as it advanced, swelling into a tidal wave of hellfire threatening to engulf him. So, Kronos laughed, drunk on his own cruelty. What will you do now? Ray forced himself to breathe, to think. Half-hearted attacks won't work. But if this blade, if it is truly mine. He dashed forward, seizing the sword still embedded in the ground. The inferno was nearly upon him, its heat already scorching his skin and clothing. With every ounce of strength, he slashed. The blade tore through the flames, parting them enough for him to break through. Even so, the searing fire licked at his body, burning flesh and cloth alike. His gritted teeth gave way to guttural growls, then full cries of pain. Kronos watched from above, smiling wickedly. But then his expression faltered. Despite his broken body, Ray had closed the distance and driven his sword straight into Kronos' chest. I hit him. Ray's heart leapt. He saw Kronos' hand rise to the wound as though in disbelief. Just one strike, yet it had landed true. Reverse. The monstrous laughter returned, chilling Ray's blood. His heart stopped when those two words echoed again. In a blink, everything reset. He was back where he started, the wound gone, Kronos standing unharmed before him. Raising his arms wide, Kronos revealed the gash sealing itself shut. How entertaining. The sword slipped from Ray's grasp, clattering to the floor. His knees buckled, and despair crushed him. So it is all meaningless. Am I just going to die here like this? Terror surged in his eyes. And then, skill detected, presence of the god of space confirmed. Unlocking hidden skill. As the abyss of defeat closed in, something strange appeared before Ray's vision. Words. Floating text. His lips whispered them aloud. Hidden. Skill. Kronos tilted his head, baffled. But before he could act, the letters shifted. Secondary effect activated, skill theft. Stolen skill, reverse. Ray's eyes went wide in shock. Kronos, too, froze in disbelief. Impossible. That is. Reverse, Ray roared. The fabric of space itself tore around them. Time buckled. Kronos screamed as the very power he had wielded was turned against him, his own ability devouring him whole. Skill activated, regression. The world warped, time and space molded like clay in unseen hands. Ray's consciousness slipped, then he awoke. A ceiling lamp hovered above him, one he recognized. Gasping, Ray sat up from where he lay. I used his power. Reverse. But then, his gaze drifted to a nearby mirror. The reflection staring back left him stunned. A younger face, his own, from years ago. This is me, from when I was still a child. His voice trembled in disbelief. Is this a dream? He blinked and glanced toward the window. And froze. Suspended in the sky outside was the upside-down tower. It was still white. Confusion exploded in his eyes. That is impossible. After that day, it turned black. The tower had begun bleaching into darkness years ago, and when it was finally consumed, the great door had opened. Behind that door had been the god of time himself. Memories surged up like a nightmare, his worst memory. His breath caught. Right. The last moment he would face Kronos flashed in his mind the instant he had stolen the reverse skill. And then, Ray's hand trembled as he grabbed his phone. No way. The screen lit up, and the rising thrill in his chest surged. Just as I thought. He looked back at his reflection. The unreality of it all pressed harder against him. 7 years ago. I have gone back. He inhaled sharply. Skill system. The interface opened immediately, displaying his skill list. Skill theft. His eyes fell to the missing slot, and a pang of disappointment struck. Reverse was gone. But the page was not empty. Skill drain. Ray whispered. A joy greater than striking gold flooded through him. It is still here. In his past life, he would lived miserably. 10 years, and not once had he awakened a skill. This one skill, the only one on his board, was his lifeline. If I have skill drain. He swiped quickly across his phone screen. Here. Today's the evaluation day. Chiyoda Ward. In front of Tokyo Station. Headquarters of the Mage Association, the national agency overseeing dungeon expeditions. Ray walked slowly into the building. His eyes flicked around, taking it all in. Still looks new. Right, 7 years ago. Makes sense. A mocking snicker rang out behind him. Hey, colorless. What is a guy like you doing here? Ray turned slightly. 2 faces. Go to, level 36. Oik, level 37. The memories clicked Kai's underlings. Goto slung an arm over Ray's shoulder, voice dripping with sarcasm. Do not tell me you are here to get tested again. Oik sneered. Pointless, is not it? Someone as useless as you still trying. That is right. This was not his first evaluation. He had never given up on becoming a mage, no matter how many times he failed. Ray brushed their arm off with a sharp motion, voice low but firm. Leave me alone. Goto's eyes narrowed. What is with that attitude? Oik scowled, his tone ugly. A colorless dares to talk back to us. In the brightly lit room, a young woman sat hunched over a stack of documents. She was an examiner of B-rank sorcerers, Hinata Reina, rank 27. Lifting her head, she noticed him and muttered with a weary sigh, You again? Huh, at this rate. One day you will drive yourself to suicide over these exams. Ray only gave her a crooked smile. This time. It should be fine. The shrill sound of the buzzer signaled the end of the written portion. Time's up. Everyone, put your papers down. Without hesitation, Reina led Ray straight to the teleportation gate for the practical test. I suppose I do not need to explain the rules to you anymore, do I? He took a deep breath. No. Ray stepped through the gate, reminding himself of the task. Collect 3 magic stones from goblins, and he would pass. Normally, for anyone awakened to their powers, it was nothing difficult. But his gaze darkened. Today was different. Images from memory resurfaced of an incident that should not have happened. A monster appeared where one had no right to exist in a level 1 dungeon. His body stiffened at the looming shadow ahead. His voice came out hoarse. Just as I thought. Before them stood a grotesque creature, a red cap, level 37. Reina froze, eyes wide. A red cap, why would something like that be here? In an instant, she drew her sword and stepped forward. Kurosaki, run. Ray clenched his teeth in alarm. No, the difference in rank is too great. In the world before his reincarnation, Hinata had not been able to defeat this monster. Reina had no chance. The red cap struck, a single punch blasting her aside before she could even parry. Ray's chest tightened as he realized bitterly she was only buying him time to escape. Her body slammed against the cavern wall, and she spat blood on impact. He remembered vividly how, in the last life, this very battle left her so gravely wounded she could never again be a sorcerer. His fists clenched, suffocating under guilt. It was my fault. Because I was powerless. Because of me, Hinata's future was destroyed. The red cap turned its burning gaze on him. But this time, Ray's eyes no longer wavered. They burned with resolve. The monster lunged. Ray braced himself. This time would be different. With a sharp cry, he hurled himself forward, dagger in hand. The red cap's strength was monstrous. It could amplify its physical abilities far beyond normal limits. It swatted his blade aside with bare hands, shattering the steel to pieces. Ray's pupils contracted. It is too strong. Even ordinary attacks can't touch it. He surged forward again, fists clenched tight. In the blink of an eye, he was within striking distance, pouring every ounce of strength into his blow. Its bloodshot eyes bulged as it drove a knee upward, then suddenly faltered. A translucent screen appeared before Ray's eyes. Skill stolen, Physical enhancement max. Physical attributes improving. While the red cap stood stunned, unable to comprehend why its power had vanished, Ray felt it flooding into him instead, filling his body with raw strength. If I can steal its skill. His blade cleaved through the monster's torso in one clean stroke, splitting it in half as if through butter. Ray walked past the collapsing corpse, his voice steadier and more confident than ever. Then this thing is nothing more than a lump of meat. Reina was stunned, her eyes wide as she witnessed it. He defeated that monster with just one strike, Ray murmured to himself, skill theft. Even he had not expected to master such power so quickly. Impressive, it was a terrifyingly remarkable ability. Behind him, Reina's voice carried doubt. But how did you do it? Ray averted his gaze, thinking to himself that it was best not to mention forbidden skills. Instead, he forced a casual smile. Just a coincidence. Her tone hardened. Do not lie to me. She grew stern. Because of this irregularity, the exam will be cancelled. Closing her clipboard, she added firmly, I will report this to headquarters. Ray bent down, picking up a mana stone at his feet, weighing his options. She was right, now was not the time for strange incidents. Holding the crystal up, he turned to her. But all I need are 2 of these power stones, right? This is not the time to argue about that, Reina snapped. It is too dangerous here. Footsteps echoed from the tunnel. When Ray turned, 2 more monsters had arrived at last, screeching menacingly. But before they could finish their cries, their heads were already rolling across the ground. Ray landed lightly behind their corpses, raising several glowing stones in his hand with a grin. Got them. That is enough power stones, is not it? For a moment, silence filled the cavern. Then Reina's jaw dropped. What? Later, at the front desk of the Sorcerers Association headquarters, the card he had longed for all his life was slid across the counter toward him. Here is your sorcerer's license. Ray accepted it with trembling hands, lips pressed tight as if to hold back a flood of emotion. I have spent so many years struggling to reach this point. I can't abandon the dream of becoming a sorcerer. Even if I was nothing more than a porter for 10 years. Today, I have finally become one. The clerk slid another paper toward him. And this contains the valuation of the power stones. These stones, harvested from monsters, are an invaluable source of clean energy, no CO2 emissions. They can also be sold to the association. Ray picked up the sheet. Since he had slain an A-rank monster, this meant a substantial income for him. His eyes widened at the figure printed there, disbelief flashing across his face. 3 million. That, Reina said calmly, is the reward for defeating the Red Cap. Ray burst out laughing. So sorcerers can actually make a decent living. I did not know that. She softened, her tone carrying a rare encouragement. If it is you, Ray, you could earn even more. His gaze fell quietly on her hand, still wrapped in bandages. A sudden thought flashed across his mind. Ray turned to her and asked softly, can I ask you something? After a brief exchange, he quietly made his way toward the teleportation gate. Reaching out, his hand brushed against its glowing surface. For real this time. His eyes fell on the glowing inscription, registered to Kurosaki Ray, rank C. His chest tightened. This is my name. Standing before him was something he had once thought forever out of reach. Until now, he had never been able to enter a dungeon on his own. Memories surged. Reina, bloodied and broken in another life. Then a flash of her current, unharmed smile. Ray looked down at his hands and allowed himself a small grin. Change the future. Suddenly, a massive hand clamped down on him from behind. Someone had used a skill phantom hand. Its caster's rough voice followed. What the hell are you doing here? Ray ground his teeth, turning to see the face. You. Oik stepped forward with a crooked grin. A useless sorcerer like you, going into a dungeon alone. Godu flanked him, his expression just as mocking. You do not even know that is against the rules. Ray kept his composure. I passed the aptitude exam. That means I can enter the dungeon by myself now. Gotu narrowed his eyes. What? Quit lying. Oik grabbed Ray by the hair, yanking his head back viciously. Then why do not you show us your so-called skill? Ray strained against the magical grip but could not break free. A skill that condenses mana into physical form. Phantom hand. Strength enhancement alone is not enough to break it. His toes pressed against the ground for leverage. Then Ray snapped his head forward, smashing his forehead into Oiki's nose with brutal force. Blood poured freely down the man's face. At that moment, the system screen flared to life. Skill stolen, phantom hand. The binding dissolved instantly. A surge of raw energy radiated outward from Ray, and the two bullies froze, fear flickering in their eyes. What the hell? Light gathered around Ray's hand. He was activating a new skill. A massive invisible hand materialized and clamped down on Oik. The man's mouth fell open in shock. You actually awakened a skill. Do not get cocky over just that much, Goku roared, charging forward with his palm ablaze. Mana condensed into a blazing fireball. Ray tightened his left fist, triggering another ability Empower. A wave of force erupted around him, and he crushed the incoming fireball with ease. Goku froze, his voice trembling. What? That was all Ray needed. He shot forward, his fist already cocked back, and with a single devastating punch, sent Goku flying across the floor. Oik broke into a cold sweat as he watched his comrade crumple. That is strength enhancement. Goku groaned, his voice ragged and hoarse. You do not tell me. You are a dual color. Ray shook his head calmly. No. Raising his hand, a radiant fireball sparked to life in his palm. The system interface lit up. Skill stolen, fireball. His lips curled into a measured smile as he spoke slowly, each word deliberate. Not dual color. A blazing red aura wrapped itself around Ray, and his voice dropped low, steady, resolute. Not single-colored. Goku stiffened, his eyes snapping up in disbelief. A third color, I have never even heard of such a thing. Ray's expression was ice as he hurled the fireball in his hand straight toward where Goku stood. The boy stumbled back in panic, barely dodging the explosion. Off to the side, Oik struggled helplessly, his arms bound tight behind his back by the invisible grip of Phantom Hand. Ray's palm still burned with a flame, and his voice came out edged with irritation. Still want to fight? That was all it took. The two bullies exchanged wide-eyed glances and then shouted in unison, "We are sorry." A heartbeat later, they turned and bolted, scrambling over each other to escape. Ray let out a long, exasperated sigh as he watched them flee. Idiots. He ran a hand through his hair and muttered under his breath, "If Kai finds out about this, I am screwed." Unbidden, an image of that bloodthirsty man surfaced in his mind. Kai, sneering down at him, treating him worse than a dog. Ray mocked himself bitterly. I was nothing but Kai's mutt. If he learns I have awakened skills, he will crush me without hesitation. Kai had already reached level 50, one of the strongest figures of this age. And Kai was not the only threat Ray had to worry about. The dungeon before him. It would unlock soon. He stood before its looming gate, faint light flickering in the darkness beyond. Stretching out his hand, Ray summoned another fireball, his mind working furiously. I need to raise my level as much as possible. That is the only way forward. Sparks crackled inside the dungeon as Ray stepped through with measured calm. His thoughts lingered as he moved deeper. Leveling is the foundation of strength. Higher levels mean more skills, more total power. But more importantly, greater control over that power. A sharp, cold crackling echoed ahead, followed by a sudden eruption of flame. A flame which, level 38, materialized before him. Ray's eyes narrowed, his hand conjuring a fireball of his own. He whispered under his breath, "This might be a bit harder." The witch, already brimming with manic excitement, raised its staff, unleashing a barrage of fireballs. Ray gritted his teeth, hurling his own flame to meet them. Fire roared in both directions, collisions lighting up the dungeon walls as neither side yielded. A stray fireball clipped near his leg, forcing Ray to leap aside with a scowl. I can't win like this, not in a straight exchange. Then his jaw set, and he made a decision. Launching himself forward, Ray thought with razor clarity, no matter its level, one thing never changes. After a skill is cast, there is always a gap. The witch's eyes widened in surprise as Ray closed the distance mid-attack. Snarling, it swung its staff at him. Ray remained calm, every movement calculated. 2 seconds. That is all it takes to render you useless. His fist smashed into the creature, staggering it violently. The flame witch collapsed, slamming into the dungeon floor, motionless. A chime rang in his ears. Skill stolen, fireball. Ray exhaled sharply, relief washing through him. That was its only means of attack. But his relief was premature. The witch suddenly lurched back up, its eyes burning with fury at having been beaten down so mercilessly. Ray's expression stayed eerily calm. Slowly raising his hand again, he thought coldly, if I steal it, there is nothing to fear. Fireballs spun around him like scarlet comets, crashing toward the witch. A blazing red cyclone enveloped its form. The system erupted with a flurry of notifications. Level up. Level up. Level up. Level up. Ray frowned at the stream of alerts, already piecing it together. The stronger the monster, the greater the experience gained. Normally, defeating higher-level creatures would be nearly impossible. But with skill theft, with the ability to turn their own powers against them, it becomes achievable. His gaze flicked back to the glowing system window. Level 8 right pointing arrow level 12. Ray's hand suddenly clenched. He stared resolutely at the dungeon door ahead and thought, now I am going to reach level 30. Now deep inside the chilled, damp dungeon, he pushed himself without pause, constantly raising his power. The system's chimes sounded again and again, level up. Level up. Level up. He had slain countless fiends and kept searching for new skills to add to his repertoire. Ray stared at the notification panel and reflected, I have been leveling at an incredible rate. But I am still only level 27. As he would expected, each gain grew harder to win. If he wanted to touch level 30, he would have to defeat even higher-ranked monsters. Eventually he reached the dungeon's innermost chamber, the bot room. A cold iron door creaked as he pushed it open into the hollow, echoing space. Standing before him were shadowy silhouettes of horned fiends. Their lower limbs unfolded into view, pale blue murderous auras wrapping their bodies. They were imps level 30, skull demons level 45 and TMP level 30. These were among the dungeon's strongest demons. Ray watched them warily and issued a cold challenge. All of them are high rank. If I steal their skills, I will have a shot at winning. With that thought he launched at the first creature standing opposite him. He leapt forward into the pale green aura converging on him, power surging outward as murderous intent lit his eyes and electricity crackled from his body. His punch closed fast on the skull demon. Then, to his surprise, his face went slack with sudden realization. Ray landed carefully and looked at the demon's protective barrier. Damn! He muttered through clenched teeth. I can't touch it. It was a mana barrier, a magical shield that blocked his skill theft. The skull demon bellowed in fury and darted toward him with brutal speed. Ray scrambled to dodge, his mind racing to find a way to break that shield. He had no choice left. To shatter it, he would have to use it, the very thing he would been trying to avoid. Ray stared at the skull demon before him, thinking intensely. To break this mana barrier, I need to steal something useful from this monster. He did not possess that power yet, but seeing the bat-like demon swarming toward him, he leapt high into the air, ready to strike the first one. With agile precision, he punched its face, sending it flying backward. Suddenly, the system notification rang out. Skill activated, skill theft. Again, it chimed, skill theft, ice arrow. Now Ray's hand formed a blazing fireball. The imp's fierce expression shifted subtly, hesitation flashing in its eyes as it recoiled slightly. Ray thrust the fireball into its body and shouted, Fireball. After finishing off that one, he landed and scanned the next imp. Quickly, he activated a new skill, Ice Arrow, ambushing the second imp before it could react. Exhausted, he fell to the ground while the skull demon glared at him coldly, irritation and fury burning in its eyes. With its minions defeated, it immediately began summoning new ones. Ray studied the newly summoned demons with curiosity. Normally, this would be troublesome, but a grin spread across his face, excitement sparkling in his eyes. This is perfect for me. He struck at the nearest imp, muttering to himself, because. Suddenly, the system chimed, level up, level 27 right pointing arrow level 28, Ray beamed. I can collect experience points. He cautiously watched the imps while glancing at the notification panel. If my level keeps rising like this, he thought. On screen, it displayed that his controllable mana would now reach its maximum. Fusion skill unlocked. This is it. The skull demon roared in frustration, unable to withstand the pressure. Ray's hands now glowed with two skills, one a spinning ice shard, the other a blazing fireball. His eyes burned with murderous intent as he declared boldly, fusion skill. Instantly, he merged the two abilities in his hands, using the ground as leverage to spring upward, launching his new skill straight at the skull demon. He shouted the skill's name, Inferno Strike. The demon panicked, desperately activating its protective barrier. Ray struck it hard. Cracks spread across the shield with a sharp crack. At the same time, the barrier could no longer hold and shattered completely. Ray cheered, "I have broken it." Once more, the system rang out, "Skill theft, mana barrier." Ray's expression turned cold as he prepared another strike, one more hit. Suddenly, the system announced again, "Skill theft, maximum body enhancement." He glanced at the staggering skull demon, disdain in his eyes, and said coldly, "With this, the enhancement you are using will be nullified." Enraged, the demon glared at him and roared furiously. Ray quickly launched his skill, Inferno Strike, fusing ice and fire into a devastating attack. The skull demon screamed in agony, and a green gem fell from its body to the ground. Simultaneously, the system chimed repeatedly, "Level up, level up, level up, level up." Ray's level shot from 28 to 33. Ray gently wiped his chin and let out a relieved sigh. Fusion skill. Combining multiple abilities into one. It was an advanced technique to create even more powerful skills, usually only used by those of level 30 and above. Now, sitting on the cold floor, Ray studied the mana stones in his hands, still a bit incredulous. "I actually managed to use it like this," he muttered, stretching and yawning from exhaustion. Then, Ray's eyes fell on the system notification panel in front of him, and he frowned thoughtfully. A line of text caught his attention, "Level requirement met. Maximum number of skills retained through skill theft has increased, from 3 to 5. Ray could not help but smirk. More skill theft, this makes it so much more convenient to use. At that very moment, far above in the towering skyscraper that scraped the clouds, Ray placed the mana stone on the table. In the grand hall, Reina, the examiner, was astonished, shouting in disbelief. "You defeated the skull demon," she held the report in her hands, incredulous. "And you reached level 33 in just one day." Ray scratched his head, looking sheepish. "Ah. Probably just a stroke of luck," he muttered. Reina looked up at him, her voice cold and incredulous. "Level 30 in one day. I have never heard of such a thing." Ray smiled lightly. "Well, it is true," he replied nonchalantly. Reina then exclaimed, "At this level, you could easily qualify as a rank B mage." But she did not notice someone approaching Ray. Kai slowly stepped forward, a slight smirk on his lips. "Hey, wait a minute. This dog is rank B, there must be some mistake here." Ray's eyes narrowed sharply as they locked onto him, thinking the name in his head, Kai. Reina, holding the report, looked puzzled and hesitated. "Kai," she began. Kai's voice cut through sharply. "He can't even use a simple skill properly, he is a colorless." He scoffed, adding coldly, "And now he is rank B." Reina tried to clarify in a low voice, "No, Ray actually defeated the red-capped goblin and the skull demon." Upon hearing this undeniable fact from Reina, Kai's expression darkened. He turned his piercing violet eyes on Ray and asked coldly, "How did you?" Before Ray could respond, Kai activated his skill, preparing to strike. A pale purple orb exploded in the grand hall, sending everyone scattering in fear. Ray calmly raised his shield to defend, meeting Kai's attack without flinching. His eyes, however, remained utterly calm as a soft smile played across his lips. "Honestly, this is kind of dangerous," he murmured under his breath. Ray blocked Kai's punch with one hand and spoke calmly, "Honestly, this is kind of dangerous." Reina exclaimed, "Kai-san." Kai frowned, tilting his head slightly. "So you have awakened your skills, huh? Looks like the rumors were true." Ray replied simply, "Yes." Kai retracted his hand and smirked, "But just because you can use a few skills like that does not make you impressive." His laugh dripped with contempt as he activated his magic. "Let us see how strong you really are." Reina's voice trembled slightly. "Kai, are you planning to fight here?" Kai waved her off. If this worthless mage really became a rank B through his own strength, then it is no big deal. Reina's worry lingered, but Kai continued to provoke Ray, or maybe it is all just a lie. Ray clenched his fists in anger, thinking to himself that even if he refused Kai's challenge now, he would likely be sabotaged later. He lowered his gaze with determination and accepted the provocation. "All right," he resolved. Kai ground his teeth and swore under his breath, "Bastard." In the arena of the Mage Association headquarters, Ray and Kai faced each other. Ray reminded himself silently, "When fighting someone stronger than me, I must always be aware of the difference in controllable power." Analyzing his opponent, Ray realized that at level 30, he only had 3 basic skills, whereas Kai, at level 50, likely possessed 5. If I fight head-on, I will lose. He concluded. That is why I have narrowed the power gap with certain tactics. Ray launched the first attack, Ice Arrow. Kai immediately countered with a fireball. The two attacks collided, creating a massive explosion, sending smoke and dust swirling. Kai's eyes widened in shock as Ray had already closed the distance, activating maximum body enhancement. Kai could hardly believe what he was seeing. Yellow is enhancement. A dual-element skill. Ray calculated quickly, thinking that after 4 of Kai's skill strikes, he likely had only enough power left for one more skill. Ray extended his hands, merging red and blue energies. A long spear formed fusion skill, Flame Spear. Kai observed the attack with surprise. A skill combining blue and red. So you have 3 elemental colors, he said, smirking. He muttered a spell and unleashed a massive fireball, catching Ray off guard and knocking him backward. Ray exclaimed in shock, my fusion flame spear counts as 2 powers. And I lost to a single skill like that. Kai laughed mockingly. Did not expect you to have 3 colors of power. No wonder you were so eager. He added, but I am in a far different position than you. Kai then launched another colossal fireball, grinning. Now, dance. Ray dodged swiftly and activated the previously fused skill. He focused, Flame Spear, and hurled it straight at Kai. But Kai countered, casting another fireball, destroying Ray's spear mid-air. Ray quickly defended using Mana Barrier, but it began to crack under the immense force. He was thrown back, and Kai's confident laughter filled the hall. Damn! Ray muttered, frustration burning inside him. Kai pointed down with a condescending grin. Kneel, and I will forgive you this once. Just say you are sorry for overreacting. Ray gritted his teeth, realizing that with his limited skills and strength, he could not defeat Kai yet. Maybe I should give up. He considered, but he quickly shook off the thought. Giving in meant becoming Kai's subordinate. Ray stood tall, determination blazing in his eyes. I will not. Kai swung his hand. Fine. Seems like you won't learn anything until you die. A massive violet energy sphere appeared behind him, an enormous fireball. The system notification flashed, overload activated, temporarily doubles controllable power at the cost of large energy consumption. Kai lifted his hand, unleashing the fireball. This is the Emperor's skill. Not just one, but many fireballs. 10 consecutive strikes. Ray's eyes widened in shock. So this is the power that makes him the strongest. He thought, temporarily, he can wield enormous power compared to other kings. Clenching both fists, Ray spoke aloud, his voice ringing with resolve. I am waiting for you to use that skill. Ray shouted loudly, I have been waiting for you to use that skill. Without a moment's hesitation, he lunged straight at Kai. 10 consecutive strikes can only be achieved. Ray leapt high into the air, his thoughts sharp as a blade, when he uses his skill. Kai sneered up at him, voice dripping with contempt. Fool! You think you can dodge my attacks mid-air? He guided the flaming orbs toward Ray in a deadly barrage. Ray's eyes flew open wide as he focused with every ounce of his being. He chanted under his breath, Magic Hand. An enormous spectral hand shot out, snaking around the fireballs, nearly landing a blow on Kai. Kai's teeth clenched. A new skill. If I can get past this, Ray thought, then even 10 consecutive attacks won't matter. And besides, he is still bound by his cooldown even as a king. He landed smoothly, immediately pushing off again. In that split second, Ray channeled all his power into his legs and drove a punch square into Kai's face. The blow connected so hard Kai spit blood, his body sent flying. Ray panted heavily as a system message blinked before his eyes. Skill enhancement has been stolen. Looking at the black glow pulsing in his palm, Ray thought, once I have stolen his skill, this fight is finished. Kai staggered to his feet, his voice rough. You bastard. Ray tensed, ready. He is still not done. Kai's expression twisted with rage. I will kill you. He summoned a massive, jagged spike of ice, a violet aura wrapping around it. Ray's eyes widened in disbelief. That is the demon spear, the most powerful skill of the death wraith. He is using it now. The spear shot at him with terrifying speed. Ray dodged just in time, panic flickering in his mind. What kind of speed is this? Kai conjured another spear, driving Ray back. I got a lucky hit only because he was careless, Ray admitted to himself as the deadly weapons kept coming. Once he is serious, he is far stronger than me. Ray found himself cornered against the wall. Kai chuckled darkly. We are not done yet. Ray immediately called forth his flame spear. Kai countered with another demon spear. The two powers clashed violently, detonating in a cloud of dust and concussive force. The shockwave hurled Ray into the wall. He stumbled, clutching his injured arm. Kai approached, voice cold. Now you understand why they call me the Death Wraith King. This proves I am the strongest. Ray's breath came hard as the truth weighed on him. He is right. That demon spear really is one of the strongest skills. Kai's smirk widened. Do not get cocky just because you can use a few skills. Something clicked inside Ray at those words. He glanced at his palm, realization dawning. He is right. I can't beat him with my current skills alone. He clenched his fists. But what if I could uncover the secret of the Death Wraith skill itself? His eyes locked on Kai, thoughts racing. Until now, I have been limited, only able to fuse 2 skill colors at once because of my mana. Mana flared violently around him as he activated his enhancement technique. Kai's eyes narrowed. Enhancement? How are you? Ray flicked his gaze to the system panel, calculating. My mana has doubled. If my prediction's correct. The system chimed. Mana increased due to enhancement. Secret skill unlocked, black hue. A smile curved Ray's lips. This is it. Kai raised his guard, his voice taut. What are you doing, your mana? It is rising. Ray stared at the power gathering in his hand. This is the fusion of 3 hues, something no one's ever done before. Red. Blue. Yellow. Red enveloped. Blue, then fused with yellow, all 3 merging into a single swirling mass. A black orb bloomed in Ray's palm. Kai's disbelief spilled out as words. Black mana. Ray turned the sphere slowly, his mind steady. The basic hues of mana are blue, red, and yellow. I was once branded as someone who could not even wield a single color. His brow furrowed, eyes hardening. They were all wrong. I have mastered every hue of mana. I am a black mage. Kai panicked, summoning a jagged slab of ice and snarling, disappear. The shard, wrapped in a streak of violet energy, shot toward Ray. Ray narrowed his eyes and tracked its trajectory. With a swift motion he hurled the power orb at the incoming ice and shattered it dead on. Kai, unable to believe what he was seeing, shouted, "No way!" But Ray gave him no time to recover. He gathered another orb and prepared a follow-up attack. Kai scrambled, fashioning a fresh ice shard and cursing furiously. The distance between them closed. The ice and the fireball crackled with terrible intent. Ray poured all his force into the sphere and hoisted it high, the flame of the abyss. In the next heartbeat he launched it at Kai's massive block of ice. Ray's raw power overwhelmed Kai's defense. The ice exploded into shards that rained back over Kai's face, and a cataclysmic blast followed. When the dust settled, Ray stood in the haze, emotion settling into a heavy stillness. He walked slowly toward the unconscious Kai, then dropped to his knees and breathed in a mixture of disbelief and joy. I did it, he murmured. A system notification drew his eye. Skill acquired, Flame of the Abyss obtained via secret skill, Black Hue. Ray replayed the name in his head, feeling the weight of it, Flame of the Abyss. At that moment someone opened the door behind him. Reina rushed in, her face etched with worry. Ray, are you alright? She called. Ray turned, giving a wry laugh. I do not really know. She stared at him, terrified and incredulous. What? What is that power? Ray fell silent, clenched his hand, and thought for a long moment. He realized he could not hide it in this situation. He opened his palm. A dark, heavy vapor swirled around his hand, coiling and pulsing like living shadow. Ray hesitated, then said, it looks like a black skill. Reina's eyes widened. Black skill, she echoed, awe and fear mixed in her voice. She looked at him with reverence. This is a once-in-the-world case. Ray nodded slowly, then asked awkwardly, let us call it a black skill for now. Do I have an obligation to report this to the association? If not, I will keep it secret. Reina, realizing Ray had misunderstood, hurried to clarify. I did not mean it like that, she said awkwardly, trying to smooth things over. I just thought you might be losing an opportunity. Ray frowned in confusion. Losing an opportunity, he repeated. She explained patiently, making him understand that his color, the black magic he wielded, was unique and irreplaceable, the strongest among all, regarded as a king among colors. She fixed her gaze on him, her tone serious and unwavering. To put it simply, because you are the world's only black mage, you can confidently say that you are the Black Cane. Ray's mind went quiet, clouded with thought. A cane. But with Reyna still before him, he did not dwell on it too long. He forced a small, casual smile. For now. I do not want that, he replied lightly. Deep down, he did not value her words much. His level had not risen exceptionally, and even if he were a king, it did not change his perspective. He then turned to shift the topic. By the way, he said, gesturing toward Kyle lying unconscious nearby. Is he all right? Reyna, calm and composed, replied without hesitation, he is a cane. He will recover soon, even from that level of injury. Still, she was considerate, taking out her phone to call for assistance. I will take him to the medical room regardless. Suddenly, both of their phones lit up and vibrated with a new notification. Ray, surprised and suspicious, exclaimed, "What is this?" He quickly picked up his phone and checked the alert. The screen displayed a critical notification. A dungeon has appeared at the western entrance of Ikebukuro back. Estimated level, 70. Reyna's face paled, whispering fearfully, "This is." Ray's mind was already racing, gripped by dread. It has finally appeared. In his thoughts, the triangular, eerie structure hovered in the air, with the data showing Ikebukuro dungeon estimated level 70. He recalled that most kings only reached level 50. During the first week, the kings had realized their helplessness, and as a result, the dungeon had been abandoned. Then disaster had struck, the dungeon suddenly illuminated, signaling an anomaly, and a horde of monsters had poured forth. Ray's expression darkened as he recalled the tragic sight of fighting that monstrous wave. This is the beginning of a tragedy. At the moment, the full scale of the danger was not yet apparent. If the dungeon was not conquered within a specific time frame, the monsters would spill out. Television reports had once covered this incident. Ikebukuro dungeon had become the site of the first dungeon outbreak. From that point, monsters had rampaged through the city of Tokyo, leaving hundreds of thousands dead. Ray clenched his phone tightly, silently resolving, "I will not let that happen again." His eyes burned with unflinching determination. I must prevent a dungeon collapse at any cost. He raised his head and told Reyna his decision. "I will conquer that dungeon." Reyna immediately protested, alarmed. "Even for you, that is far too dangerous." She fixed him with a serious gaze. Moreover, only advanced mages are allowed inside this dungeon is estimated above level 50. Ray listened calmly, quickly calculating in his mind. Luckily, there was still some time before the dungeon's collapse would begin. He then spoke up. "The next A-level advancement exam is in about a week, right?" Reyna, puzzled by his question, still answered honestly, "Yes." Ray clenched his fist and declared with composed solemnity, "Then I will achieve a level in that exam." Ray announced with a serious expression, "I will take part in the next rank promotion exam." Reyna's eyes flew wide in alarm. "Promote to a rank?" she cried. Then, forcing herself to stay calm, she added reassuringly, "With your skills, you could definitely pass the exam." Confused, Ray asked, "Is there a problem?" Reyna immediately became careful and explained the exam rules to him. To qualify for the A-rank promotion test, he would first have to complete a B-rank dungeon as part of a team. Now Ray sat listless in the association's grand hall, Reyna's earlier warning still echoing in his ears. In other words, he needed to form a party within a week and clear an unexplored B-rank dungeon. Ray pulled out his phone and scrolled through the barrage of mocking messages who would team up with a colorless, "Go cling to your brother." Nearby two young men covered their mouths and snickered at him. He muttered to himself, "So the rumor that I am colorless has spread already." He thought about the Golden Glow dungeon he would have to clear and felt a wave of annoyance. He had to clear an unexplored B-rank dungeon in a week. Surely it would be nearly impossible for just one mage. Ray scratched his head and complained inwardly, "What am I supposed to do?" A sharp voice snapped him back to attention. "Hey, you!" Ray turned to see three girls approaching, faces annoyed. Mio declared brusquely, "Today, I am making you work for us." Ray looked at them, puzzled. Mio scowled and accused, "You were allowed to join our team because they said you are a dual color user, but your fire skill is too weak." The girl being reproached hung her head and meekly accepted the blame. "I am sorry," she whispered. Ray rose, feeling none too pleased he would encountered this exact scene before. It reminded him of past struggles. He was treated like a burden. Mio sniffed haughtily and said bluntly, "To be frank, Ichinos, you are the liability." But when she heard the name Rei, her eyes opened wide in disbelief. Rei followed her gaze to the girl being shunned and recognized her Ichino's Aya. He recalled what he would learned about her. One day she would rise to become a fearsome figure, later known as the Red Queen. Right now, though, Aya was still an underperforming mage. Rei felt sympathy looking at her. He did not expect she would be treated like this by her own teammates. When Aya heard she might be kicked from the team, she gripped her hands helplessly and stammered, "If I am kicked out, I won't be able to pay my sister's hospital bills." Mustering courage, she looked up and pleaded, "I will do better next time, I promise." Mio remained unmoved and gave her an ultimatum, "Prove it on today's raid. If you fail, you are out." Aya nodded desperately, "Yes, I will do my best." Mio turned and led the others away. "All right, let us go." Rei watched them go with concern, wondering if they would be okay. As evening fell and daylight faded, Rei walked home in silence, chin propped and thought. Ichino's will become the Red Queen in a few years, he mused. Remembering the sorrow shadowing Aya's face, he thought about what she would have to endure before reaching that height. If he recalled correctly, she would suffer a tragic incident around this time. She would be gravely wounded fighting a bot and fall into a long coma. A cold jolt shot through him. Wait, he stopped dead, a sudden fear gripping him. Maybe that accident would happen today. He replayed Aya's desperate, pleading expression in his mind. He was not certain, but something told him she was in danger. Finally deciding without hesitation, Rei ran off. "I have to hurry." In an unfamiliar dungeon, a blue door swung open. The 4 members of Mio's team stepped inside, facing the monsters within. Ahead, a massive sword was embedded heavily in the ground. Blocking their path was a spectral armored creature, a Dullahan, level 45. Suddenly, Mio covered her mouth and let out a wicked, malicious smile. "I have an idea," she said. Then, without warning, she shoved Aya forward. Aya stumbled a few steps, confused and uncertain. Mio laughed cruelly and commanded, "Fight it on your own." Aya spun around in panic, stammering, "But I can't defeat a Dullahan by myself." Mio crossed her arms, casually threatening, "Then I will kick you out of the team." Aya's eyes widened in fear as she begged, "No." Mio's cruel laughter continued, pressing her, "Then give it your all, or not you doing this for your little sister." Aya lowered her head, unable to speak. Reluctantly, she turned back to face the Dullahan. "I understand," she thought, preparing herself. The people behind her watched with gloating fear, sneering without restraint. With no other choice, Aya raised her hands and summoned a fireball. She hurled it straight at the Dullahan fireball, yet when the flames dissipated, the monstrous figure remained unscathed. Horror widened Aya's eyes. It did not work. Suddenly, the Dullahan stepped forward, crushing the stone floor beneath its feet. It leapt high into the air, swinging its massive sword down. In an instant, the strike slammed near Aya's position, shattering the floor into fragments. The shockwave from the attack hurled her backward, and she cried out in fear. Aya collapsed to the ground, pain racking her body, and she could not help but groan. Before she could recover, the Dullahan loomed over her, raising its sword for another deadly strike. Despair gripped her. "I knew this would happen." She squeezed her eyes shut, unable to bear looking, berating herself inwardly. "I am useless." Then, a sudden voice rang out across the chamber, "Maximum body enhancement." The voice belonged to Rei. He had arrived just in time, charging forward with his sword to shield Aya. Aya's eyes widened in shock as she stared at the figure protecting her. Rei paid no attention to her reaction, focusing entirely on the battle. He shouted, pouring all his strength into his sword. With a powerful strike, he sent the Dullahan flying into the wall with a tremendous impact. Aya, still in shock, stared at the youth before her. She cautiously called out to the back of his figure, "You." Before she could finish, Rei had already turned, concern flashing in his eyes. "Are you all right?" he asked. Rei turned back, concern etched on his face, and asked, "Are you all right?" Behind him, the 3 members of Mio's team were clearly shocked by the sudden turn of events, powerless to do anything as Aya was saved. Mio furrowed her brow, cautiously asking, "Who is that?" She cast a quick glance at the Dullahan sprawled against the wall, thinking to herself that Dullahans were heavy monsters. Then, she shifted her gaze to Rei, apprehension creeping in, yet he had swept it aside with a single swing of his sword. Mio's eyes widened in fear as she whispered, "What exactly is he?" No one had the time to answer, for the Dullahan was far from defeated. It stirred, rising to its feet, rage emanating from it in waves of force that swept through the surrounding air like a violent wind. Ray watched it warily, calculating in his mind, as expected. This alone is not enough. He studied the armor closely, quickly analyzing it. The Dullahan's armor was enhanced by a boosting skill, rendering ordinary attacks ineffective. In a flash, Ray shot forward like lightning. The Dullahan raised its sword to strike. Ray nimbly leapt to avoid the horizontal slash, already forming a plan. Then I will steal its skill and neutralize it. He reached out toward the Dullahan, channeling his power to absorb the skill. But when his hand touched the armor, there was no sensation at all. Ray's eyes widened in horror. It did not activate. Before he could ponder further, the Dullahan launched another attack, forcing him to retreat and dodge. Aya turned to him, worry in her voice. Are you okay? Distracted, Ray responded. Yeah, I blocked it with my sword. Ray furrowed his brow, eyes trained on the Dullahan, realization dawning. I see. He examined the energy swirling within the armor and deduced the cause. The armor was merely a shell. He needed to touch the creature's true body directly. Once again, the Dullahan raised its sword and struck, creating a green flame that raced toward Ray. He quickly lifted his hand and stepped forward to shield Aya. Stay behind me, he instructed. Ray formed a protective barrier to stop the Dullahan's flame's magic barrier. The shockwave also pushed toward the 3 Mio members. 2 of the girls were knocked backward, leaving Mio struggling alone. Refusing to be outdone, Mio conjured an ice block to attack the monster, shouting in anger, "You bastard!" She hurled the spiked ice toward the Dullahan. The creature responded with the same overwhelming swing as before, shattering the ice. Mio's eyes widened in fear as the green flames drew ever closer. Undeterred, she stepped over the fallen teammates without a trace of mercy. Taking advantage of the moment, Ray struck the Dullahan swiftly. Yet when the dust cleared, the monster remained unharmed. His ice attack had done nothing. Ray retracted his sword and began considering another approach. I need a skill capable of overcoming its enhancement, something that can pierce through. He conjured a strange, dark purple fireball. Aya watched in disbelief, her eyes widening. Dark mana, she whispered. Ray raised his hand, aiming precisely at the Dullahan. Abyss. At the same time, the Dullahan swung its sword horizontally, releasing its green flame once more. The green fire raced across the ground toward Ray. Without hesitation, he unleashed his dark fireball. In an instant, the black flames flared, overpowering the green fire. They spread further, enveloping the Dullahan completely. Through the fire, the outline of the monster could be seen thrashing in despair, trapped and consumed by the overwhelming darkness. Finally, the pillar of fire erupted, burning with ferocious intensity. After a moment, the Dullahan gradually disintegrated, leaving only a single green mana crystal falling to the ground. Aya, having witnessed everything, was filled with awe and disbelief. Just a single strike had accomplished it. She looked at Ray's figure, admiration and respect in her eyes. Amazing, she whispered. Suddenly, she spoke, drawing his attention. I am sorry. Hastily, she stood and bowed, expressing her gratitude. Thank you for saving me. Ray smiled warmly in response. I am glad you are safe. He glanced at the mana crystal in his hand, pleased, thinking, just as I read. Then, looking at Aya's calm, smiling face, a sense of relief washed over him. He was truly glad to have saved Ichino's. At that moment, Mio struggled to rise from the debris. She glanced at the 2 of them in horror, whispering, What is happening? Anger flashed in her eyes as she gnawed her nails, staring at Ray's composed, handsome face. He really is strong, she thought. Then a sly, scheming smile spread across her face. But she quickly covered her mouth, her eyes filled with greed and malice. The reward must be mine. Mio approached the 2, shouting, wait a second. She reached out boldly, demanding, the reward that dropped from the dungeon we registered to conquer. Give me that mana crystal. Aya looked at her, incredulous, trying to clarify, this person. He saved us. But Ray calmly held up the crystal in response. I do not mind giving this to you, he said, while simultaneously pointing toward Aya and making his request clear. In return, I want her on my team. Aya, caught completely off guard, only stared at him, wide-eyed. Mio's eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at Ray. Yet he paid no attention to their reactions. He turned to Aya, smiling warmly. Of course, he added. His voice reached her ears, leaving her momentarily stunned. Only if he allows it, she realized. Mio could not contain herself any longer and laughed, the sound dripping with derision. Soon, she and her 2 team members joined in, mocking and laughing loudly. Between laughs, Mio said, "I was wondering what you were going to say." Facing Rei's serious gaze, Mio's laughter faded. Without hesitation, she accepted his terms. "I agree to your conditions." She placed a hand on Aya's shoulder, leaning down with a sly look, asking, "Ichinos, are you okay?" Aya placed her hand over her chest, silent. Moments later, Aya turned decisively to Rei. "Understood. From now on, I will count on your help." Seeing this, Mio quickly snatched the mana crystal. Turning to leave, she muttered with satisfaction, "Money. I never thought a useless person could sell it for such a high price." Rei's gaze followed her coldly, silently pondering, "Useless, huh? I wonder if that is really true." Aya ran up to him, her emotions raw. "Thank you for inviting me," she said. Rei smiled kindly. "Do not worry about it. I am sorry for making you leave your team abruptly." Aya lowered her head, hesitant, revealing her self-doubt. "But is that really okay? I feel like I am just holding you back." Rei's expression hardened with resolve. "It is fine," he said firmly. Aya's eyes widened in surprise. Before her, the young man extended his hand toward her, his voice serious and assured, "You will grow stronger. Stronger than those who ever abandoned you." Aya murmured in astonishment, I will become stronger." Rei nodded in confirmation. He had already observed her closely. "Before coming here, I saw you at the association. I overheard your conversation there." Aya felt a pang of sadness recalling her own behavior at that time. Rei, noticing her reaction, quickly added, "It was just by chance I heard it. Sorry. But I think I can be a support for you." Aya hesitated briefly, but her determination grew. In the end, she accepted his offer. "All right. I will count on you." Rei, visibly pleased, responded enthusiastically, "Me too." The next day, Rei stood before a triangular-shaped gate. "Now, let us conquer a B-rank dungeon," he declared. Aya, curious, asked, "If we conquer this dungeon, will I be able to take the A-rank exam?" Rei confirmed, "Yes, that is right." He added, "Not only that, inside this dungeon is a key that will make you stronger, Ichino-san." Aya's eyes widened in surprise. A key? She thought. Determined, she also promised herself that once she became stronger and ranked up, she would earn enough to pay for her sister's hospital bills. Rei interrupted her thoughts with a firm, "All right, let us go." She immediately agreed. Both were ready. Inside the cave, they approached a door marked as a B-rank dungeon, the Crystal Cave. Aya suddenly noticed something and pointed it out. "Rei-san, look!" Ahead of them was a pack of black wolves. Rei stepped forward confidently. "Leave them to me." Aya stepped back. Rei activated his ability, pushing his body to the extreme. He charged forward and swiftly defeated the first wolf, then eliminated the rest with incredible speed. Aya watched in awe, recalling her previous team with Isoyama-san, which had been strong, yet this is incomparable to Rei-san. Once the wolves were dealt with, Rei turned to her. "This is our target. I will support you here, just follow the plan." Aya, still slightly nervous, nodded and moved forward resolutely, thinking to herself that defeating as many monsters as possible was a strategy to level up quickly. At first, she relied only on basic offensive skills, but she forced herself to try harder. She unleashed her power, a fireball. Rei observed from behind, treating it as a test for Ichino-san. Will she recognize her own weapon, he wondered. Suddenly, he noticed movement behind her. Enemies had arrived. Taking a battle stance, he declared, "I won't let them bother Ichino-san." A snake appeared and attacked Aya from behind, wounding her. Worry flashed through her mind. "No matter how many I defeat, they keep coming. If this keeps up, I will run out of mana." Then she realized Rei was fighting seriously, too. "He is making the battle easier for me," she thought. Aya regained her confidence. "I have to respond to his support." She continued leveling up rapidly, surprised at her own stamina and realized her mana was not depleting. Rei was pleased with her progress, just as he predicted. Ichino-san was suited to prolonged battles. Her abundant mana was her greatest weapon. A display appeared beside Aya. She smiled, seeing the new information, Blast Furnace unlocked. At the bot chamber of the Crystal Cave awaited a level 52 giant slime. Rei advanced first, issuing instructions as he ran. Ichino-san, use the skill you just unlocked. Aya nodded and activated her ability, Blast Furnace. Flames enveloped her, astonishing her. She realized, this is my power. Rei was extremely satisfied. Blast Furnace amplified her attacks at the cost of high mana, perfectly complementing Ichino-san's skill set. After using the skill, her strikes became significantly stronger, surpassing even Rei's expectations. With this immense power and her vast mana reserves combined with Blast Furnace, Ichino's Aya was poised to become the Crimson King. After the battle, Rei praised her. Well done. Aya beamed. I did not expect this either. All thanks to you, Rei-san. They shared a moment of mutual recognition, and Aya's excitement grew. We have met the requirements to take the A rank exam, Rei, resolute, thought. Finally, it is time for the promotion exam. No matter what, I will pass. On the day of the A rank promotion exam, Reina read aloud the announcement. First, they would measure everyone's combat ability and pair them with another candidate for a trial match. Rei's anticipation surged. The final promotion exam had finally arrived. I have to pass this exam and become an A-rank mage, he thought, excitement bubbling within him. He chatted eagerly with Aya. The exam is right in front of us. Aya smiled brightly, equally thrilled. Do your best, Rei-san. Rei patiently explained the procedure. The first stage would be a combat ability test. But before he could continue, a sharp voice cut in. I did not expect a useless person like you to show up for the exam. Mio had appeared, mocking Aya. Aya's face paled. Isoyama-san. Rei immediately stepped in to defend her. Sorry, but she won't lose to someone who only knows how to bully others into fighting alone. His words only infuriated Mio further. Go ahead and show off your strength then. Instead of dragging along someone like Ichino's, I have a much better teammate, Aono Yuri. You two will never defeat her. Rei was taken aback. Aono Yuri, that is Aono Yuri. He recalled past memories from his previous life. She had once conquered an extremely difficult dungeon on her own, earning a reputation that spread far and wide. At this point, her strength must already be on par with an A-rank mage. Yuri approached him with a sly smile. Young man, you seem interesting. Rei was momentarily surprised by her forwardness. Aya, confused, whispered, Rei-san, what is going on? Yuri feigned thoughtfulness. Rei. Could it be? Kurosaki Rei, the bodyguard of the Death King. I heard Kurosaki Kai was defeated by someone. Then, teasingly, she added, he lost to you, right? Rei was astonished at how much she had investigated. Aya's jaw dropped. Rei-san, is that true? She then boldly stated, but you won't defeat me. I have heard about the Death King, but he is nothing compared to me. Rei could only chuckle wryly. Aono Yuri, huh? At the Mage Association training grounds, the instructor began the combat evaluation. Now we will test everyone's fighting skills using this artificial golem. It is coated in an ultra-hard stone, tougher than normal rock. Attack it with all your strength. Kurosaki Rei, please step forward. The golem was activated. Rei immediately conjured a fireball. Other candidates laughed derisively. Using fire magic against a metal-type golem, that is foolish. Rei ignored them and advanced, knowing a normal fireball would not break it. In response, a red whirlpool appeared in his palm, and he struck directly at the golem with flame pierce. The attack penetrated its head, destroying the golem in a single strike. Observers outside were stunned. He destroyed it with one attack. That is dual-element magic, is not it? Yuri's expression shifted to one of admiration. He fused fire with blue mana to increase the power. Impressive. Rei remained serious. Measure mana capacity. Place your hand on the crystal. Mio, nearby, looked disdainful. Aya prepared herself. As the measurement began, flames suddenly erupted around her. Mio's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Meanwhile, others cheered. Amazing, who is she? Mio's jealousy flared. Cheating, surely. The final simulation began. The instructor explained the procedure. We will start the simulation battles now. First match, Ichino's Aya versus Isoyama Mio. Aya tried to remain calm, while Mio, filled with envy, thought, I will expose all her lies. The instructor signaled, begin. Mio immediately unleashed her skill, Ice Needles, sending a volley toward Aya. Aya countered with her own magic, a battle of ice versus fire. The shards sizzled and shattered into pieces upon contact with her flames. Mio re-evaluated Aya's strength. Ichino's has such strong firepower. What is happening? Aya pressed on, casting fireball, causing Mio to worry. Mio retaliated with mana shield. Confidently, she thought, fool, her attacks are too simple. I will wait and counter. Yet when the fireballs hit her shield, they dispersed, leaving her shocked. Wait. Why does not her attack stop? Ray calmly observed. With Aya's immense mana, continuous attacks would eventually overwhelm the mana shield. When the ice shield finally broke, Mio had no escape and was forced to retreat. Unfortunately, a stray rock struck Mio's head. Aya could not react in time. She still could not believe it. This. Ichino's. Can't be. Must be fake. The instructor's voice rang out. Enough. Winner, Ichino's Aya. Ray praised her, well done. That was a great match. Aya, exhilarated, replied, I thought I was dreaming. Thank you, Ray-san. Ray nodded. The instructor announced the next match, Kurosaki Ray vs Aono Yuri. Step forward. Yuri looked surprised. So my opponent in the final simulation match is you. This should be interesting. She then asked, curiosity glinting in her eyes, by the way, you're taking this exam for a reason, right? You seem more prepared than the other candidates. I wonder why. Ray responded politely, I have certain matters I must attend to, no matter what. That is why I can't stop here. His words made her pause briefly, then she smiled mysteriously. But I am strong, you know. I know, Ray replied confidently, but I will win. Yuri seemed pleased with his attitude. As expected. He is interesting. The match began. Yuri immediately took the initiative. Then I will strike first. Her attacks were blue flame blades, which Ray easily blocked. Observing closely, he recognized her skill mana manipulation, a rare technique allowing her to control mana freely. Ray noticed something else as well and deftly dodged her next strike. Yuri teased, not bad. You dodged that pretty well. Ray quickly counterattacked. It is my turn now. Yuri blocked immediately. I won't let you get away that easily. Ray raised a mana shield for defense and advanced rapidly. Yuri reacted quickly and evaded. As he pursued, he conjured a red flame to attack her flame strike. Yuri blocked again with mana manipulation. The red and blue energies collided, and after the clash, she muttered, that was close. Ray silently acknowledged the perfection of her defense. Just as I expected. She is strong. Aya, watching nervously, worried aloud, Ray-san. She noticed Yuri fighting joyfully. So this is his next move. Yuri slammed the ground with strikes resembling massive pillars, forcing Ray to dodge repeatedly. Frustrating, indeed. Yuri was confident. Does he think running around will win him this? Ray's form shimmered with a faint light layer as he moved like lightning, pushing his body to its limits. Yuri, initially surprised, became even more determined. I have never seen someone wield tri-element mana before. But I can enhance my body too. She drew a scythe from behind and moved with lightning speed, reaching behind Ray in a blink. Fortunately, he reacted in time to block. He admitted silently, she is fast. Yuri attacked furiously, and Ray dodged continuously, tense under the pressure. Finally, he leapt before her and unexpectedly grabbed her hand. Yuri was unfazed at first. Too shallow. Even if he grabs my hand. Then she realized, my extreme body enhancement has been stolen. She could not believe it. Her power was being drained. Ray pressed the advantage, striking her abdomen. Yuri's surprise turned into frustration. So that is how you were hiding your gem. She collapsed, unconscious. The instructor immediately declared, winner, Kurosaki Ray. In another room, Yuri slowly regained consciousness. Ray, pleased, observed her wake up. She accepted her defeat gracefully. I lost completely. I did not expect you to be this strong. Curiosity sparkled in her eyes. I am guessing you did not come here just to show off your promotion, right? Ray's expression turned serious as he extended an invitation. Let me be clear, would you mind joining my team? The question took her by surprise. What? He elaborated, based on the results of the simulation match, you qualify for a rank, Aono-san. To conquer higher difficulty dungeons, we need your strength. That is why I am asking. Yuri laughed heartily. You are interesting. Fine. She accepted the invitation with enthusiasm. Following you should be more fun. I will count on everyone's support. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Aya panicked. An earthquake. Ray turned his head to look outside, hesitating. Do not tell me. A man appeared, bound in chains, and they were perilously close to. Aya looked puzzled as the tremors suddenly stopped. Ray's mind was elsewhere, reflecting on the earthquake that had just occurred. In my previous world, before the Ikebukuro dungeon collapsed, there were countless earthquakes. In short, they were approaching the time limit. Ray felt a twinge of concern. The dungeon's difficulty was unprecedented in this era, but there was no turning back. He decided to speak honestly. I need to tell you both something. Aya's eyes widened in shock. Conquering the Ikebukuro dungeon. The hardest dungeon on the Japanese peninsula. And it is just the three of us. Yuri's curiosity was piqued. Are you suggesting that now, because of the earthquake? Ray's expression grew serious. I have a bad feeling. Recently, there have been many reports of abnormal monsters appearing. It feels like an omen. Something terrible is about to happen. Yuri remained casual. Well, whatever happens, it should still be an interesting place. Aya, in contrast, was solemn. Understood. I will do my best not to be a burden. Ray smiled, grateful. Thank you both. I am looking forward to this. Alright, let us get started. The next day, Ray's group sought out Reina. We have a request, Hinata-san. We will be conquering the Ikebukuro dungeon. Outside the dungeon, Yuri was visibly excited. A super difficult dungeon recommended for level 70 and above. I am hyped. Aya, however, was a little apprehensive. It would be better if we could cooperate with other mages. Ray knew it was not possible. There were no ranked mages available to deploy immediately. It would have been great if Oikawa were here. Yuri seemed to recognize the name. Ray recalled from his past memory, before his regression, Oikawa was known as one of Japan's top mages, a capable ally for times like this. Ray's gaze hardened. If the dungeon collapses again, Kronos, the god of space and time, will appear. I have to prevent that. Turning to the others, he said, let us go, Ichino-san, Aono-san. Yuri suddenly stopped him. Before that, I have a request. You can call me by my first name, right? She teased. Using my last name feels too formal. Aya joined in. Me too. Yuri laughed. We are friends now, right? Ray chuckled. You are right. Together, they entered the Ikebukuro dungeon. Ray immediately noticed something. A skull demon had appeared. Level 71. Ray instantly went on high alert. This is a bot from other dungeons, yet it is appearing here at level 70+. Let us begin, Aya, Yuri. Aya assumed a battle stance. Yes. Yuri followed suit. Got it. A layer of shield appeared in front of the skull demon. Ray led the attack, targeting its mana shield with flame spear. Cracks began to form. One strike was not enough, so he called out. Now, Yuri charged from behind, and Aya attacked from a distance. Their combined energy finally shattered the shield. Ray moved in first, slashing the skull demon with his sword and landing gracefully. He looked at the voices around him and said happily, we did it, Ray-san. Great timing. Both of you, Ray praised. Yuri, still curious, asked, from our previous match, I wondered. How can you use so many skills, Ray-kun? Ray paused. Huh. Then he slowly explained, I have something called skill steal. Yuri blinked, confused. Skill steal. He clarified, I can steal skills just by touching someone. Yuri remembered their earlier fight and finally understood. Ray added, I have already returned your skill, Yuri. She smiled gratefully. Thank you. Aya still could not fully process it. He can even do that. Despite the surprise, she listened attentively as Ray outlined the plan to conquer Ikebukuro. Ray continued to lead them deeper into the dungeon. With Ray-san here, we will be fine. I must not be a burden. In the following rounds, Ray fought first, then Yuri, then Aya. Eventually, they reached the final stage. Alright. The bot room is just ahead, Ray said. Aya's worry grew with the increasing tremors. I know the bot is strong. Can we handle this? Ray reassured her, our levels have risen on the way here. We should be fine. Aya felt slightly relieved. Indeed, Ray grew stronger with each battle, and Yuri was adjusting well to the fights. Aya silently vowed to at least support them. Suddenly, something appeared behind her. Both Ray and Yuri turned sharply. A tail lashed out and snatched Aya. Before Ray could react, she had been grabbed. The monster. The Ikebukuro dungeon bot. Reaper, level 89. Ray could not believe it. The bot should not be able to leave its deepest chamber. So how? Elsewhere, someone watched smugly. Yuri joked, but Ray's worry deepened. The situation is extremely critical. We have to save Aya at all costs. Kronos was clearly behind all of this. The monsters had been unleashed deliberately. Ray knew that, with their current strength, there was only so much he could do. Fine. That is enough for now. It is time to be the first to take the stage. Ray's worry was obvious. Aya, are you okay? Aya was tightly ensnared by the dungeon bot's tentacle. Through a small opening, she managed to respond. Why, yes. Somehow. Her heart pounded. She had managed to block some attacks, but escaping entirely seemed impossible. I do not want to be a burden to them. Outside, Ray was tense. Aya had immediately raised her mana shield, but even with her enormous mana pool, there were limits. He wanted to attack, but feared endangering her. I want to use Abyssal Flame, but Aya might get caught in it. I need to find a way to save her first. Quickly, he coordinated with Yuri. Yuri, I will draw the tentacle's attention. While I do that, try to rescue Aya. She nodded without hesitation, as if there were no other choice. Ray charged forward. The dungeon bot lashed out with its tentacles, and he narrowly dodged. I did not expect it to be this strong. Even a normal strike has this much destructive power. I can't take it head on. He landed safely, but before he could catch a breath, another tentacle struck from a blind spot. Aya shouted in worry. Ray-san. He activated Mana Hand, blocking the strike just in time, then quickly dodged away. Almost. But not quite. Ray glanced down, satisfied Yuri had seized the opportunity. This slight distraction is enough. She attacked with her scythe, but Ray and Yuri both froze. What? A shield had protected the dungeon bot, some kind of enhancement skill. Yuri quickly backed off. Ray rushed to check. Are you okay, Yuri? She immediately replied, I am fine. But Ray's instincts screamed that something was off. Normally, tentacle-type monsters had weak defenses, and he would never heard of one with an enhancement skill. Let alone roaming outside the bot chamber. Kronos had been manipulating everything. The tentacles attacked again. Damn it. No time to think. Ray and Yuri blocked as best they could. Meanwhile, Aya berated herself. This is all my fault. I have always relied too much on Ray-san. She remembered how he had made her previous battles easier. As long as Ray-san is here, we will be fine. But she realized her own problem. She had been far too passive. I have to do something. I have to do something. Yuri tried to hold her ground, but it was grueling. Ray's mana was dwindling after continuous fighting. If only our mana were intact. Then he remembered something. Right. The skill. He shouted, Aya, use mana merge on us. Aya froze. Yuri also looked puzzled. That skill was considered useless. It consumes an enormous amount of mana. Ray's mind raced as he fought. Yes, mana merge was once seen as useless in my previous life. But some magic has reversed its value, and the one who proved that was Aya, back then. Aya hesitated, worried. Mana merge. I have never used it, thinking it was useless. But if Ray-san says so, I will trust him. And I want to use it to help him. She successfully activated the skill on Ray and Yuri, astonished as her own mana began to replenish. Ray's face lit up. Mana merge shares the user's mana pool. Only a mage with massive mana can control it. Aya's excitement grew. Amazing. With this skill, I can share mana with them, but she realized it still was not enough. The reason, she was maintaining her mana shield. Determined, she deactivated it. Ray and Yuri were stunned. Ray's worry spiked. She is letting go of her mana shield. Tentacles quickly wrapped around her, yet she persisted, activating Explosive Furnace. A surge of energy enveloped Ray and Yuri. Ray shouted anxiously, Aya. She remained resolute. Ray-san, Yuri-san. The rest is up to you. Tentacles ensnared her tightly, but Ray and Yuri had no choice. They charged forward with renewed determination. Yuri said calmly, if she is determined this much, we have no other choice. Ray felt a surge of gratitude. Thanks, Aya. It is because of you. The two of them attacked like twin arrows, striking the tentacles relentlessly. One by one, they severed the appendages, finally clearing a path forward.